The 911 call came in at 6:47 a.m. on a cold Tuesday morning in Detroit, Michigan. The voice on the other end was calm, too calm, almost rehearsed. "I just came home and found my family," the man said, his words measured and slow. "They're not breathing. I think they're gone." Dispatch kept him on the line. "Sir, who's not breathing? How many people are we talking about?" "My wife, my 2 sons, and my mother-in-law," he answered. There was a pause. No sobbing, no panic. Just silence. "I need you to send someone. Now." Officers arrived at the 2-story brick home on Fairfax Avenue within 9 minutes. What they found inside would haunt the Detroit Police Department for years to come. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a break-in gone wrong. This was methodical. This was planned. This was cold-blooded execution disguised as tragedy. And the man who made that call? 38-year-old Marcus Trent Holloway, a software engineer, a deacon at his church, and a husband everyone thought was devoted. But beneath that polished surface was a mind capable of unimaginable darkness. Before we dive deeper into this nightmare, I need to ask you something. If you're watching from Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Los Angeles, London, Manchester, or anywhere else in the world, drop your city in the comments right now. And if this story grips you the way it gripped me, hit that like button and subscribe to the Fiend Files, because we're about to uncover one of the most chilling family murders ever recorded. Let's go back to the beginning. Marcus Holloway grew up in Flint, Michigan, in a working-class neighborhood where ambition was the only way out. His father left when he was 6. His mother, Lorraine, worked double shifts at a nursing home to keep the lights on. Marcus was smart, really smart. Scholarships carried him through college. He graduated with honors in computer science from Wayne State University and landed a 6-figure job at a tech firm in downtown Detroit by the time he was 25. On the surface, Marcus had made it. He bought his mother a house. He drove a Mercedes. He married Shauna Renee Holloway, a beautiful marketing executive he met at a networking event. Shauna was confident, successful, and deeply loved by everyone who knew her. She had skin the color of warm honey, natural curls she wore in a high bun, and a smile that could light up a room. She also had a sleeve of floral tattoos running down her left arm, a tribute to her late father. They had 2 sons, Elijah, age 9, and Caleb, age 6. Both boys were smart, athletic, and full of life. Elijah played basketball. Caleb loved drawing. They went to a private school. They had birthday parties with bounce houses. From the outside, the Holloways were the American dream. But inside that house on Fairfax Avenue, cracks were forming. Shauna's mother, Diane Porter, had moved in with the family 2 years earlier after a stroke left her partially paralyzed. Diane was 62, sharp-minded despite her physical limitations, and fiercely protective of her daughter. She didn't trust Marcus, never had. She told Shauna more than once, "That man smiles too much, something's off." Shauna brushed it off. Marcus was a good provider. He went to church. He didn't cheat. Or so she thought. But Diane saw things. The way Marcus's jaw tightened when Shauna spoke. The way he controlled the finances down to the penny. The way he dismissed her opinions in front of company, then acted like a loving husband the moment someone else walked in the room. And then there was the insurance. 6 months before the murders, Marcus had taken out a $2.5 million life insurance policy on Shauna. He told her it was for the boy's future. "If something happens to me, you're covered. If something happens to you, I can take care of them," he said. Shauna signed the papers without hesitation. Why wouldn't she? They were married. They were building a life. What she didn't know was that Marcus had also increased the policies on Elijah and Caleb. And Diane. By the time that 911 call came in, Marcus Holloway stood to collect over $4 million if his entire family was dead. Let's talk about the crime scene. When Detective Anya Briggs stepped through the front door that morning, she immediately knew this wasn't random violence. Anya was a 15-year veteran of the Detroit PD, a black woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes, a no-nonsense attitude, and a scar above her left eyebrow from a case that almost killed her. She'd seen plenty of murders. But this was different. The house was pristine, no forced entry, no signs of struggle, no overturned furniture. The alarm system had been disarmed from the inside. Whoever did this had a key, and they knew the code. Shauna's body was found in the master bedroom. She was lying on her back in bed, still in her pajamas, a single gunshot wound to the forehead. The pillow beneath her head showed burn marks, meaning the gun had been pressed directly against her skull when the trigger was pulled. Execution style. She never had a chance to scream. Elijah and Caleb were in their shared bedroom down the hall. Both boys were tucked into their beds. Both had been shot once in the head. The killer had pulled the blankets up to their chins afterward, like they were putting them to sleep. Diane was in the downstairs guest room. She'd been shot twice, once in the chest, once in the face. Her wheelchair was overturned. There were scratch marks on the doorframe. She had fought. The weapon? A .22 caliber handgun. Small, quiet, the kind of gun that wouldn't wake the neighbors. And Marcus? He was standing in the driveway when officers arrived, still on the phone with dispatch, his hands shaking just enough to look believable. "I went for a run," he told Detective Briggs. "I left around 5:30 a.m. I do it every morning. When I came back, I found them." Anya Briggs looked him up and down. His running shoes were clean. No dirt, no sweat stains on his shirt. His breathing was steady. For a man who just found his entire family murdered, he was remarkably composed. "Where did you run?" she asked. "Around the neighborhood. Same route I always take." "Anyone see you?" Marcus hesitated, just for a second. "I don't know. Maybe. I wasn't paying attention." Anya made a note. Marcus Holloway had just become suspect number 1. The investigation moved fast. Detectives pulled security footage from nearby homes. They interviewed neighbors. They checked Marcus's phone records, his bank accounts, his emails. And piece by piece, the facade began to crumble. First, the timeline didn't match. Marcus claimed he left for his run at 5:30 a.m. and returned around 6:45 a.m. That's over an hour. But his usual running route? 25 minutes, tops? Where was he for the extra 35 minutes? Second, there was no evidence of anyone else entering the house. No footprints. No fingerprints that didn't belong. The alarm system logs showed it had been disarmed at 5:42 a.m., 12 minutes after Marcus said he left for his run. Third, gunpowder residue was found on Marcus's right hand. When confronted, he claimed he'd handled Shauna's hand while checking for a pulse. But the residue pattern didn't match that explanation. It matched someone who had fired a weapon. And then there was the affair. Detectives discovered Marcus had been seeing Vanessa Cole, a 29-year-old paralegal he'd met at a conference in Chicago 6 months earlier. Vanessa was white, blonde, with green eyes and a tattoo of a lotus flower on her rib cage. She didn't know Marcus was married. He'd told her he was divorced. They'd been planning a future together, a future that required Marcus to be single and wealthy. Text messages recovered from Marcus's phone painted a damning picture. Vanessa: "When are you finally going to be free?" Marcus: "Soon, I promise. Just a few more months." Vanessa: "I'm tired of waiting. I want to start our life." Marcus: "You will. Trust me. Everything's going to change." The last message was sent 2 days before the murders. Yo, if you're still with me, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Because what comes next? It gets darker. And if you're watching from Birmingham, Houston, Philadelphia, Toronto, or anywhere else on this planet, comment your location. Let me know you're here. Now let's keep going. Marcus Holloway was arrested 72 hours after the murders. He didn't resist. He didn't run. He sat in the interrogation room across from Detective Anya Briggs and her partner, Officer Jamal Mitchell, a stocky black man in his 30s with a shaved head, a cross tattooed on his neck, and a reputation for getting confessions. "Marcus, we know you did this," Anya said calmly. "The evidence is overwhelming. The gunpowder residue, the timeline, the insurance policies, the affair. This isn't going away." Marcus stared at the table. His hands were folded. His face was blank. "I loved my family," he said quietly. "Then help us understand," Jamal pressed. "What happened? Did Shauna find out about Vanessa? Did she threaten to leave? Take the kids? Take the house?" Marcus's jaw tightened. For the first time, emotion flickered across his face. Anger. "She didn't understand," he said. "She didn't understand what I sacrificed, what I built. I gave her everything, and it still wasn't enough." "So you killed her?" Anya asked. "You killed your children? Your mother-in-law?" Marcus looked up. His eyes were cold, empty. "I did what I had to do," he said. "I planned it perfectly. Every detail, every step. No one was supposed to know." The room went silent. Jamal and Anya exchanged a glance. Marcus Holloway had just confessed. On tape, but he wasn't done. "I loved my sons," he continued, his voice cracking. "But they would have been a problem. Custody battles, child support. Shauna's family would have poisoned them against me. And Diane?" He laughed bitterly. "She knew. She always knew. She would have ruined everything." Anya Briggs felt her stomach turn. She'd interviewed killers before. Psychopaths. Monsters. But this was calculated evil. "You shot your 9-year-old son in the head while he was sleeping," she said. "You looked at Caleb, your baby, and you pulled the trigger. How do you live with that?" Marcus didn't answer. He just stared at the wall, detached, numb. The trial was swift. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence: the insurance policies, the affair, the gunpowder residue, the timeline inconsistencies, and Marcus's own recorded confession. The defense tried to argue temporary insanity, but the premeditation was undeniable. Marcus had researched how to commit the perfect murder on his laptop. He'd watched videos on forensic evidence. He'd purchased the .22 caliber handgun under a false name at a gun show 3 weeks before the killings. This wasn't a man who snapped. This was a man who planned. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. 4 counts of first-degree murder. Marcus Holloway was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He showed no emotion as the verdict was read. No tears, no remorse. Vanessa Cole, the woman he'd been having an affair with, testified against him. She claimed she had no knowledge of his plans. Investigators believed her. She'd been used. A pawn in Marcus's game. Shauna's family was destroyed. Her father had passed years earlier, and now her mother, and her 2 grandsons were gone. The only surviving relative, Shauna's younger sister, Kendra Porter, spoke at the sentencing. Kendra was 32, a nurse in Atlanta, with dark skin, short natural hair, and a tattoo of angel wings on her shoulder blades in memory of her nephews. She stood at the podium, tears streaming down her face, and looked directly at Marcus. "You didn't just kill my sister," she said, her voice shaking. "You killed my future. You killed my nephew's laughter. You killed my mother's last years. You killed a family that loved you. And for what? Money? Freedom? You are not a man. You are a coward. And I hope every single day in that cell you hear their voices. I hope you never know peace." Marcus didn't look at her. He stared straight ahead, empty. The case of Marcus Holloway became one of the most studied family annihilations in modern criminology. Experts analyzed his psychological profile: narcissistic personality disorder, psychopathy, a complete lack of empathy. He fit the profile of a family annihilator, a man who viewed his family not as people, but as obstacles to the life he wanted. Detective Anya Briggs, who led the investigation, retired 2 years later. In an interview, she said, "I've seen evil, but Marcus Holloway, he looked me in the eye and told me he loved his sons, right after admitting he executed them in their sleep. That's not human. That's something else." The house on Fairfax Avenue was sold. The new owners had it completely renovated, but neighbors say they still avoid walking past it at night. Some claim they hear children laughing. Others say they see a woman in the upstairs window. Shauna, Elijah, Caleb, and Diane were buried together in a private ceremony. Their headstone reads, "Taken too soon, loved forever." Marcus Holloway remains in a maximum security prison in Michigan. He has never expressed remorse. He has never apologized. In a letter smuggled out by a fellow inmate, he wrote, "I regret getting caught. Not what I did. They were in my way." And that right there is the most chilling part of this entire case. Not the murders themselves, not the planning, not even the coldness. It's the fact that Marcus Holloway still believes he did nothing wrong. Thank you for watching, everyone. Whether you're tuning in from New York, Miami, London, Bristol, or halfway across the world, I appreciate you. If this case shook you the way it shook me, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to the Fiend Files because we're just getting started. There are more stories out there, more monsters hiding behind smiles, and I'm going to bring them all to light. Stay safe out there, and remember, the most dangerous people are the ones you never see coming. Until next time.